So the moment you finish with the NGO bureau, you now...
My name is Joy Kawanguzi. I am the Executive Director of FABIO. FABIO is the first African bicycle information organization. We are based in Jinja, Musoga sub-region. Today, which is actually the third day of our Eastern Region Civil Society Conference that has been organized by FABIO with support from GIZ. Today is the third day, and throughout, we've been here for 3 days. Throughout the 3 days, CSOs have been here, particularly to think through the key aspects that are limiting them to deliver to the grassroots. And key components have been, maybe I should mention the theme, that it's been under the theme, leveraging compliancy and complementarity for sustainable impact. Now, when we talk about matters of compliance in this country, especially in our language or perspective of civil society, it's a big issue whereby NGOs are required to comply to the NGO Regulatory Framework 2016. It is a big issue in a way that the requirements are quite many, but also there are capacity gaps for civil society organizations, especially the grassroots NGOs. The other issue is the aspect of partnership, which is embedded under the complementarity in our theme. So basically, we brought 120 participants in this conference for 3 days. We brought key stakeholders from parastate bodies, including the NGO Bureau, including private sector, the banks, including the development partners. And the essence was to create a platform, an opportunity for the civil society organizations to listen to the key players in the sector, but also for them as organizations to look internally, to share experiences. For NGOs that have thrived, have excelled through the aspect of compliance, how have they been able to do it? And this is why we have spent 3 days here, for them to learn from each other, for them to share experiences, for them to benchmark. And we believe today being the third day and whatever has transpired, we believe they have learned a lot. And we are sure, because we've developed a commitment document where NGOs will be following up on their commitments. And key is NGOs have learned that it is very critical, it is mandatory for them to comply before they start implementing. But also a very pertinent aspect that has emerged is the aspect of government working smoothly with the civil society organizations.
Society in Uganda Support Program, also known as CASP, and here we are gathering together in Mbale for the East Africa, the Civil Society Conference in Eastern Uganda. So we're bringing together about 80 civil society organizations here in Mbale, and yes, so our program supports civil society in Uganda because without civil society in Uganda, you cannot achieve the National Development Plan, whether it's National Development Plan 3 or the next one, the National Development Plan 4. You cannot achieve your development goals if you don't have a vibrant civil society. This society contributes about 240,000 jobs, direct jobs, in Uganda only. That it contributes more than 4 trillion Ugandan shillings to the economy. And that civil society organizations also pay billions in taxes. But more than that, civil society organizations are also crucial to bring people together, to ensure that people find something they can believe in and a cause they want to fight for. Here in Eastern Uganda, there is a number of important societal issues that need to be taken up according to the civil society organizations that we talk to, the rights of people with disabilities, or for example, fighting against gender-based violence. And this is something that we've heard here very strongly from different civil society organizations. How can we actually mobilize the government, but also civil society organizations together to address these issues? But civil society organizations are also coming together here because in order to fulfill their role fully, they need to have a conducive environment. It needs to be easy for civil society organizations to register. It needs to be easy for civil society organizations to pay their taxes. It needs to be easy for civil society organizations to be accountable. And that is why we have also invited the different regulatory bodies, which include obviously the NGO Bureau, which is now going to be integrated into the Ministry of Internal Affairs, but also NSFF, URA, were here present to engage with the participants of the civil society conference here in East Africa. Beyond that, if I may add one more point, it's important for civil society organizations to be involved in policy processes at the planning stage, at the implementation stage, but also at the monitoring stage. And that means being involved at district level, but also at central government level. And we are trying to support civil society organizations and government to create adequate structures to allow for the participation of civil society organizations in policy processes.
What are some?
I think one of the biggest challenges is compliance. You know, there is a complex regulatory framework for civil society organizations, and many civil society organizations struggle to fully understand what they have to do and also to comply, especially smaller organizations. Imagine you have a small civil society organization in Karamoja and then you have to travel to Kampala for the renewal of your permit. That becomes very, very complicated. And imagine you arrive in Kampala and then you realize that actually you're missing one document. Then you have to travel back to Karamoja, bring that document. So it is still complex for civil society organizations to be compliant. Even if they want to be compliant, it is very difficult for them. So that's, I think, the biggest challenge that we're hearing from civil society organizations, and they would wish that the regulatory framework gets a little bit easier, so that they can fulfill all their obligations under the law.
No, actually, Dr. Kello Stephen from the NGO Bureau. The reason we are here, it's a conference for the Eastern region, and a number of conferences have been held around the country. Just a few months ago, we were somewhere in Fort Portal to cover that particular area for the Toro sub-region, and right now we are in the East. The main issues here are mainly four. The first one is compliance, and the theme here is that you either comply or you perish, because you cannot be non-compliant in any country where there are clear laws that you must comply with. So every NGO operating in this country must comply with the laws that the government has put in place. The second key area here is on complementarity, that much as NGOs are complementing the government, they too within the sector must complement each other so that they can grow as a sector and as a team. But the third one that is very key is on sustainability. We are seeing donor funds are dropping, and yet we are also aware that close to, let me say, 98% of NGOs in this country depend on foreign donations. So Section 46 in the NGO Act was put there to help the NGOs become more self-sustaining. And what is happening now is that NGOs are not taking advantage of it. And the main conversation today was how to guide them on how to take advantage of it. That much as you are looking forward to foreign donations, the donations are a bit unpredictable. You may not control so many terms and interests. So it's important that you have your internal income generating activities. But the fourth component was on the collaboration, There was need for more collaboration between the stakeholders, right at the district level, up to the national level, and even the grassroots at the sub-county level. So those are the key conversations that have been in the room.
Has it?
Before 2016, the compliance level of NGOs in this country was at 24.6%. That meant that NGOs were not complying to the level that they should have complied. But after 2016 up to now, we have seen the compliance level rise from that 24.6%, and now it stands at 62.6%, whereby we are seeing NGOs are becoming more compliant. And the reason is that there's more engagement, there's more capacity building, more sensitization, more interactions all over the country. And I think it is beginning to yield results, that NGOs are beginning to appreciate that there's a regulatory framework in place that they must comply with, and they cannot operate outside those frameworks that government has put in place. The general rule is that every NGO is supposed to be non-profit making, meaning that they are not supposed to engage in profit-making activities. However, Section 46 is an exception. It introduces an exception and says that in addition, that much as you are supposed to be non-profit making, you are being given a window to be able to operate and engage in some business activities as a way of promoting self-sustainability, because it was introduced based on the fact that NGOs were mainly depending on foreign donations. Now, the only challenge has been that since 2016, a number of NGOs appear to be in a comfort zone. They are so used to writing proposals, getting money there, but again, we have seen so many NGOs have suffered as a result of that. Tomorrow, once all these global trends happen, we are seeing what's happening. The wars that are out there, COVID. We saw so many NGOs shut down the operations. People who are working lost jobs because of funding cuts. And globally, we are seeing that funding to the NGO sector is being cut. Now, this is high time the sector takes advantage of Section 46, meaning that in addition to writing your proposals, you need to start having a strategy of how you're going to have your own internal income generating activities. Because the moment you are raising your own income, you are going to have a very high level of independence, high level of security, and you're sure that even your negotiating power is much higher depending on when you're begging someone for money. See, within the country and also regional and globally, in every country you go to, you'll always see there's that mistrust between the government and the sector. And the only way of addressing mistrust is by having dialogues and engagements. Now, what we have done in this country is to introduce 3 different levels of dialogue. The first one is the national quarterly dialogue meetings. That's where the Minister of Internal Affairs sits down with the NGO sector, listens to their issues, addresses them, and if it involves a particular government entity, the Minister of Internal Affairs invites that entity, sits down with the sector, and they can discuss those issues. Now, that is at the national level. So every quarter, there's that quarterly dialogue meeting. Now, when you come to the district level, we have what we call reflection meetings. Almost every quarter, there's a reflection meeting where the team from the NGO Bureau comes to a sub-region and then meets the district officials and the NGOs, and they discuss all the issues there and have it addressed. But the third level is at the grassroots level, where we have what we call community dialogues. It means the team from the NGO Bureau and also some key NGOs and the district officials, you go into a community, sit down with them, because the best level of auditing what an NGO does is at the sub-county level. And so you go to the community, sit with them, and then they will tell you the exact picture, because an NGO may give the NGO Bureau a very rosy picture that I'm in this community doing ABCD, but once the Bureau reaches and talks to the community, you get the first-hand original picture of what actually